Hello, welcome to the final part of my giant art haul. This is the fourth and last part, and let's see what we will see in this video. So first I will show you the Derwent Inktense palette. This is the palette that I already started swatched before because I was traveling and it was super handy to have it with me, but I will show you step by step the quality, the characteristic of this paint, and we will swatch it together. Then we will see the graphite. I will show you at the end of this video art graph, and I will test it together with the old one that I have, and this is the one. I was curious if there's any difference between them. I love to work with water-soluble graphite. If you don't know this medium, then I absolutely can tell you to try it and test it. So I decided to make voiceover. I registered the audio, but the quality was terrible, so I'm just doing the voiceover again. So sorry about the maybe gestures that are not so cohesive with what I am talking about. So the other things will be the brushes. I have different brushes. The ones that you can see now, they are calligraphic brushes. I bought them at the Boesner. Both of them. This is the Boesner brush, it's cheaper, and the other one is Pentel. I also bought this Chinese calligraphic pen. I'm not sure how to call it. It's all in not sure if it's Japanese or Chinese. Sorry guys, I don't know how to distinguish it. So we will test it together. I was super intrigued by this pen. I love expressive marks. So we will test 3 of them together and see what they can do. The other brushes that you can see there are, oh yeah, sorry, this is the ink that I will use together with the brush, but you will see it obviously later in the video. The other brushes that I will use are the Flying Tiger water brushes and Boesner synthetic brushes, the brown ones that you can see. Okay, so let's get started. So I don't know if you know Derwent, I don't know if you know the Inktense products. The Inktense products has different kinds of supplies. Those are pans. They work like watercolors. You can also find colored pencils and blocks, ink blocks, I guess you can call it like this. So let's test the pans. So there are different products in the family of Inktense, but they all are the same. It means that they have ink, I think it's ink as a base of this medium, and it means that it won't get reactivated. But I will show you it later. The first thing here is the brush, which is, I think it's a super idea, and it's great that they supply the brush within the box, but the issue is that once it's assembled, it won't fit in the box together. And those are brushes that were in the set that I bought in Flying Tiger. They had a separate box. I already threw it away, sorry. I think there were 6 brushes. They were super cheap, and I will show you them as well, how they work, the sizes, the shapes. And if you're new to water brushes, then I will also explain you a little bit more. So let's get started. So first, to use water brushes, you squeeze the water. First you have to refill it with water, and the good thing is that you can travel with it and you don't have to worry, you know, to have a container with water if you work like with watercolors, something else. So those are colored pencils. Derwent Inktense. They're water soluble, and again the main characteristics are the same. The color is permanent when you draw, and once it's dry, once you water it down, it won't move, it won't be reactivated with water. But there is some difference, even if the main quality is equal for all the Inktense family. I will show you the difference. So I was searching for a color from the palette, but I didn't have the same exact color as in the palette. I will test red that is similar to the one that is in the palette. But first, let's see the characteristic that I was telling you about, the fact that the color is won't reactivate once it's dry. See also how bright the color is. Inktense palette have those really bright colors, and I really like it, especially also in the pencils. Once you dilute them with water, they create really lovely and vibrant colors. So now let's see what do you mean that the color won't reactivate once it's dry. So I dried it with my hair dryer, and watercolors I will show you later. Usually you can lift them with water, lift the pigment, and I will show you later. And I heard that Inktense they don't do that. So let's test if it's true. First I will layer the color over it. I will pick other color to show you if it won't really reactivate. So yeah, as you can see, the orange covers yellow, and the yellow remains untouched. It won't go away. So I think this is the second good quality of Inktense. The first one is that the colors are really super bright, super nice, and the second one is that you can use it to layer. Whilst with watercolors, yes, you can layer obviously, but it's a little bit tricky. The layers underneath can reactivate and the colors can mix. So now I jumped into testing the colored pencils. The difference that I told you about, I wanted to show you the difference. So basically the difference is that with pens you create really plain color, whilst with pencils simply you're just you are able to create more textured swatches of color. So I'm using the Flying Tiger flat brush, and I was really happy that I found these brushes because it's not so easy to find the flat, big water brushes. Usually they're round and small, and to paint like backgrounds, it's not so easy to find this shape of brushes, so that's super cool. And here you can see the Derwent Inktense pencils, which are diluted with water, and I'm playing with a pencil and adding textures into it. So already diluting just the pencil creates really more rough texture, and if you're adding more strokes, more pencil lines, and then dilute it, it's super cool. You can also play with the quantity of water. If the brush is drier, then also it adds a little bit of roughness to your texture. So if you're a fan of textures as I am, and if you're also a fan of bright colors, then definitely try pencils, and I would say Inktense in general. And here I'm testing if the color will go after I put the water on it, and it won't. Obviously the color was dry before, then I put water into it and I'm trying to move it, and the color remains. Whilst with watercolor probably it would all became the color would go away and the pigment would move really much more. So here the pigment also is moving, but probably it's inevitable. There's a lot of pigment, maybe I should dry it more, but as you can see, when I'm trying to lift the color that I watered again, I put water on it again, it won't go away, it won't lift from the paper. So yeah, that's a really good thing. And let's test how it works with watercolor. This is traditional watercolor. I will do exactly the same thing as I did with Inktense to show you the difference. And yeah, the thing is that it has to be dry if you want to put another layer into it. And first let's start with water. I put plain water into it, move it a little bit. You can see that already pigment is moving, it's reactivating, and here I'm lifting the color. So I thought it will lift more, probably because it's already dry, so the pigment also stained the paper. Probably also it depends on the quality of paper, but you can see clearly the difference that here pigment moves more. If the layer beneath was a little bit more wet, then it would lift even more. So if you're new to watercolors, and generally if you're a beginner artist, then that's a nice thing to know, this quality of watercolor and also of Inktense products. And here I'm layer down the other color, orange traditional watercolor. It's not Inktense, again, to show you how layering two watercolors can be challenging. You can see that the brown underneath is reactivating, and whilst with Inktense the red underneath remains intact, and you can create really crisp and lovely layers of color. Okay, so that's the main things that I wanted to tell you about this product. Hope that you've learned something new, and then maybe it will inspire you for your art practice. And now I will swatch all the colors from this palette. So this palette is number 1 basic palette. I already threw out the box, but I think it had Weasel on it. I guess I'll try to link it in the description. And as you can see, there are a lot of colors. I especially love the plum, the dark plum, the green, especially the kiwi green, because I really love the acid neon greens. I love it. Also, mango is very interesting, warm yellow. I'm not a big fan of oranges, but this kind of light orange or maybe dark warm yellow is really, really nice. So another thing is the Inktense black, which is underneath. I heard that this black is really intense and like Inktense and really covers really well, creates really opaque layer of black. So if you're using for a strong black, then I would definitely recommend it. Here's the pencil, and on the right there is a watered pencil color, and still the black remains really very dark and intense. Those are the things that I wanted to share with you about Derwent palette, Inktense palette. Let me know in the comments if you know this product, if you like it, if you use it. What do you think about it? I'm really curious about your own experience. Obviously, if you also have any questions for me, drop them below. And oh yeah, I wanted to show you the illustrations that I made with this palette. So often the things that I draw is inspired by the color palette. When I saw this palette, I was really intrigued and inspired by the vibrant, a little bit like sweet candy colors, And since it's also autumn, I created this autumn scene, but this is all painted with Inktense. I mean, the background and the details were drawn with pencils. Also, the flowers on the right were made with this palette. So, yeah, that's a yes for me for this palette. Now let's skip to the brushes. First, I will use the ink brushes. So I already had this one, but it got dry. I'm not sure if you can refill it with ink. Probably yes, but yeah, never mind. I have this new one, this new brush, and I was fan of it, and I still am, because I really love expressive marks and textured marks. So this is the thing that you can do with this brush. So you have to squeeze the ink. As you can see, you can play with lines, with the thickness of the strokes, which is really, really cool. The brushes, bristles are really fine, really good, and I remember I loved to draw with this brush, and yeah, it still applies. I'm trying to paint a very expressive flower here. You can add a little bit of water if you want more watery ink, and you can also play with the quantity of ink. I'm not a big user of calligraphy, but I try to make it because basically it's calligraphy brush, but I use it to draw. And here's the example how you can play with the quantity of ink. For example, if you don't squeeze ink, it will become drier and more dry. Sorry for my English sometimes. And you can create this really lovely textured dry brush strokes. If you're a digital artist and combine traditional art with a digital art, then I would recommend you to try this brush, because you can scannerize it really easily, because it already creates a high contrast art. So in the Photoshop, if you want to apply different color into the black shapes, the shapes has to be black, they have to be high contrasted. Then you can, for example, scannerize this black flower and made it whatever color you want. So you can also apply really lovely textures into your, let's say, digitalized art. I do that. I mean, I always paint in the traditional way, but then I digitalize my art and often edit it in Photoshop and add textures and details. So this is a cool stuff. Anyway, now I'm testing the second brush right now. This one is the same, but it's from the Boesner. They also have their own products. The Boesner is the shop I told you about in my first part of this video. And they're in Germany, sorry, and they also create their own supplies. I'm trying to see the difference now between those two brushes. There are slight differences. I think with the second one, it's more difficult to use the ink. I mean, it's very wet or very dry. So once you squeeze, a lot of ink is flowing down, but still it remains a very nice and good brush. And I think it's a very good alternative if you want to spend more, because I think it costed half, like it 4 maybe euros, and Pentel was 9 euros. So I know we struggle and often search for cheaper alternatives. So this one is really cool. And again, I'm playing with dry brush strokes and textures. Maybe in terms of the color of the ink, on the video it's not so visible, but the Pentel ink was a little bit warmer and this one is a little bit darker and cooler. But yeah, no, those are details. But in the video, actually, the Boesner ink seems to be more opaque, more dark. So yeah, but anyway, those are very good quality and I'm a big fan of this product. Now I wanted to test the ink, if it's like Indian ink, which means that it also shouldn't reactivate with water. I will test this, the other Flying Tiger brush, large and how do you say, large paintbrush? Sorry, I forgot the name. Anyway, it's not the round brush, it's flat brush, and yeah, it reactivates a little bit, but maybe because the ink wasn't dry enough, maybe it should dry a couple of hours, and the other ink reactivates more. So maybe I should leave it for about a day and see if they truly are will remain dry. But it's not so fundamental at this point. And this is the last ink brush that I bought, the one that you refill with your own ink. I think it works like a fountain pen that I used at school when I was a kid in my elementary school. So it has this pump that you use to refill the brush with inks. I will use Parker Quink. That is my favorite ink. I use it to draw, but I'm a little bit heartbroken because so let me explain. This is a black Quink, and the characteristic of this ink, or at least it was once, that once you paint with it and use a little bit of water, it creates this lovely effects of transitioning of between black and blue tones, and you really could create really whimsical, really lovely inky illustrations. And right now it's no longer like this, but anyway, I'll show you later on what I'm talking about. And this is the brush, and I really love it. I really enjoy the strokes. Look how beautiful and expressive and lovely brush lines you can paint. Again, probably it's made for calligraphy, especially for the Japanese calligraphy, but I'm not good in this, so I use it to draw basically. Now I'm painting a bird instead of a flower to show you how you can apply those expressive strokes. For example, by painting birdie. That's something that I paint really often. Or for example, the tree. So this brush is also excellent to make really subtle and delicate lines, thin lines, and that's really nice. You can easily go from thin to thick. And the only thing is, it doesn't work like the other one that you have to squeeze the ink. The ink is flowing by its own, so it's not so easy to control. If you basically you always paint with a wet brush. Oh, there you can see maybe the only thing that it's not so cool about this brush. The ink is how can you say, it's running something somewhere on the side, and maybe that's the one that I bought, but I'm not sure if all will have the same issue. So if you're a clean person, then watch out. But for me, it's fine. And I'm trying to create a little bit drier brush strokes here, and it's not so easy. It's not impossible. You just have to paint in a really delicate way. Don't push the brush too much, so you will be able to achieve the dry strokes as well. So yeah, I'm very happy that I discovered this brush. Obviously, it would be nice to see other colors of inks as well. So probably it's good to buy more brushes if you want to, you know, to use different colors of ink. And now I'm adding a little bit of water into the ink to show you what I meant by when I explained you the ink, why I loved it once. So once you diluted it with water, it created those, how can I call it, transitions of colors. The black was divided into bluish colors, and it's not like this anymore, which is very, very sad, because I could create a whole book. I know there are whole books painted only with this ink because it really allows you to create beautiful effects. And right now the colors that you can see when you dilute it with water are browny, violet, and it doesn't work. It's not beautiful anymore. So I'm a little bit desperate. If you know what I mean, and if you know where you can buy ink, the old ink that it once was, please, please, please let me know. I can really give a lot of this kind of information. So I bought like 4 or 5 right now, different ink inks in different places, and yeah, they're all the same. I cannot find the old version anymore. So those are brushes from the Flying Tiger again. As you can see, different sizes, different shapes, and it's a big yes. Maybe the only issue is that they are a little bit hard to squeeze. The water won't flow easily, but it's not such a big issue. And since the cost is really good at Flying Tiger, so I won't complain. So the second type of brushes that I wanted to show you are the ones that I bought at Boesner. Again, that's the Boesner's product. We bought it in their shop in Germany, and there are different shapes and kinds, and I wanted to show you how you can explore different strokes. Once I wasn't sure how to use different brushes, and I was a little bit skeptic. I just thought that it's maybe not necessary. Instead, today I don't think like this anyway. I'm a big fan of different brushes, different strokes, because sometimes you can create really cool stuff and different things that you wouldn't be able to paint with a normal round brush. But let's start with a traditional trusty round brush. Obviously it's necessary to have it. We'll use again Inktense colors. So I will basically paint leaves shapes here with all the brushes, but the strokes will be different anytime. Obviously you can paint big washes of color with round brush as well, but it's fun to explore different kind of shapes that you can make. So the thing that is often searched by artists and desired by artists is to have a good quality tip. So in the way that you can paint really fine and thin lines also with a big brush stroke. So that's something which is really nice to have. So this one is okay. You can really paint thin lines. It keeps a really good tip. And maybe the only thing is that it's not the super quality brush. I took it because I needed a bigger brush for my collection, but basically they can get ruined, as I'm showing you. Here I have the super ruined already brush, but I also used it for maybe oil colors or something like that, so it's already not good to paint with watercolors. But the thing about this brush that the tip will be ruined quite easily and fast. So this is the example of the other brush that I had for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years. So it's still cool, but the better quality, the more you spend on the brush, not always, but in theory, should guarantee you to use your tip for a long time. But that's okay. They wasn't so expensive, so they weren't so expensive, sorry, so it's still fine. Not sure what I'm talking right now in the video. Yeah, still talking about the tip. So let's skip to the other brush strokes. Some of the brushes are, I think they are designed specifically for floral art, for botanical art, but I'm not an expert, I'm not sure, I'm just guessing. I definitely bought it to paint leaves and petal shapes, and not only I explored different shapes and strokes, but since lately I'm participating in the pattern design course, floral pattern design course, I wanted to have a bigger range of possibility to explore floral shapes. So this is a kind of petally strokes you can create. It has a little more the tip, the top of the stroke is different. As you can see, it's a little bit more sharpened and triangular. And what I did here and what I will show you right now is how you can also use your brush to do more cool strokes. So basically you twist it. So once you paint, when you already paint the stroke, you just twist your brush in the end, and you can create really lovely thin ending of your stroke. So it's also cool to paint, for example, leaves again. And the other way I often use to use this kind of brushes is to use its very tip, its very end, to make those triangle. I use it for triangle shapes. So I use it for in different situations. Most of all, I use it as a cool, quite modern-y and abstract way to paint leaves or needles, for example, for the rounded shaped tree. Where you can imagine different things, maybe mountains in the far away landscape, or I don't know, just let your imagination work a little bit. Maybe birdie shapes. And this one is the brush that I really use very often already in my art, and it's a angular brush or dagger brush. I'm not sure. For example, this one is more maybe dagger brush or sword brush. I don't know. I'm not a really big expert of differences between them. This one has more bristles and it contains a lot of water, so it's more for different kind of strokes. And this one has a smaller quantity of brushes that are very short, and I use it basically to paint thin lines. And it's really cool to use it for grass texture, for example, or for fur maybe in an animal. And yeah, if you know my art and if you watch some of my classes on Skillshare, I use it really very often to create, for example, this grass texture, to use it for trees, for different kind of botanical textures. So I really recommend this kind of brush. Obviously you can explore it more, see what different kind of things you can make with it. and apply the quality, but more like characteristic of your different brushes and strokes into your art. And I think that's the last brush that I bought. I think it's called cat tongue brush. I know there's different name as well, but I don't remember right now. I also bought it to paint petals and some florals because it has this lovely round ending. It also creates different petal shapes, different from the sharp ones that I showed you. So let's explore it. So now I'm painting this very junior style flower, very like kid style daisy. You can explore it also in different ways to create round, maybe more directional brush flowers. But yeah, that's the basic stuff that I wanted to show you that you can do with it. And for now I have no other ideas how to use it, but definitely you can paint different shapes of your petals with it. Here I'm layering the Inktense so you can see how yellow color is layered on the blue color. The last supply finally is the Art Graf water-soluble graphite. I'm a big fan again, and I use it a lot in my art for many different illustrations, many different contexts. Sometimes I will paint a whole illustration with it, sometimes just to detail, some parts of it, but it creates really cool textures. And if you don't know this product, then I really recommend it to you. As you can see, this one I used a lot, it's consumed, but I use it like already, I think it has like 4 years maybe, and it's still there. So it's I think it costs like 10 euros, but it lasts really forever. So it works like watercolor, but basically it's a graphite pigment. I think it's a graphite powder with a binding medium, which I'm not sure what is it, probably the same as for watercolor. And yeah, let's test it. So this is the old one that I already have, and I wanted to show you the difference because I bought the same company, Art Graf. This is really wonderful, excellent company from Portugal. I really recommend it. All the products that they do for you, basically they are based on graphite. They don't have everything. They just are focused on graphite or graphite with pigments products. Different, really cool and intriguing kind of graphites. You really have to check it out. And I have really a lot of them. So if you want to know it more, drop me in the comments so I can show you the other things that I have from this company. So I wanted to test the other graphite that I bought on the left side, that you can see, and see the difference, if there's any difference, because I really didn't know. So this is more or less the thing that you can create. You can paint background and you can layer darker tones on it, and it already can create a whole illustration. And I thought that the other one could be a little bit different, maybe more intense, maybe a darker one. So yeah, let's check it out. Basically, this one is a part of the family of colors that they all have the same format. They seem like little soaps, and they have different colors, basic colors. I have the earth tones, and I'm a big fan because they really create really lovely granulating textures. I will show you later on the other colors, but right now let's see the one that is the graphite one. And for now I don't see a big difference really between the first one and the second one, and actually I think it's less intense because adding, as you can see here, a lot of pigment without diluting it, and the tone remains still a little bit translucent and it won't darken. So in the end I think the first one is better one, at least for me. It works better because you can create different tones from light to dark. And voila, this is the those are the other colors that I told you about. I bought them separately, and then I bought this palette because also they provide the empty palettes, but you can also buy the sets with colors. I bought separately all the earthy tone colors, warm colors, and they're beautiful. I'm a really big fan of this palette. If you're a fan of textures as I am, then definitely have to try them. I don't know the other colors because they also have green, yellow, red. Probably they're good as well, but I don't know if they work for textures as well. Okay, so I put my graphite color into palette. So right now I completed my collection, the set, and yeah, this is more or less the difference between those two. I will continue to test it. As you can see, it creates a little bit of bubbles, not sure why. The other one won't have those bubbles when I put water into it, but it's actually cool. It's something that could be explored and use for your advantage. You can use it, you know, to create textures, like for example dots of water on the window, or maybe bubbles of air in the water. So that's something cool. And here I wanted to show you again the difference that with this first graphite it's easier to create really dark dense tones. So probably they have more pigment, not sure, more graphite into it, or maybe it's simply the darker graphite. Not sure. And here I'm diluting it to create lighter tones. And I'm doing the same with my new product. I'm putting a small quantity of water and trying to activate as much pigment as possible and apply it with a relatively dry brush. As you can see, it won't get so dark as the first one. So if I would have to choose, I would tell you to pick the first one, the one that I already had. Only because of this quality of having dark and lighter tones. So yeah, that's it guys. I finished the series of my giant haul with this video. I really hope you find it inspiring for your art, that you feel inspired to test those products, some of them, maybe you didn't know them. Share your comments. If you liked it, please leave your like. It will help me help this channel to grow. And yeah, let me know, what do you think, and how was it helpful for you, was it inspiring for you? And with any comments, just drop the comment below. With any questions, sorry, drop the comment below. And hope to leave you some new art haul video soon, and have a great creative time. See you. Bye.